Hey, we're Harry and Charlene. We are a retired military couple who travel the world on a military pension. We haven't done an update on our budget for January because we thought we'd do January and February together. January was very expensive. Flights to New Zealand from the States is not cheap. So we thought we'd do both months together, kind of even it out a little bit. Anyway, January was spent in Dothan originally.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to Dallas.
Dothan, Alabama.
Oh, Dothan, Alabama, yes. Then we went to Dallas, stayed with some friends there.
Dallas, Texas, if you don't know where that's at.
Okay, it's going to be one of those. And then we went up to Austin, Texas for a few days to check in with our specialist there. And then we went back to Dallas, and then we flew out of Dallas to New Zealand. So that's how January and February looked for this year. Well, you know that something's got to be the most expensive part of the budget. This time round it was our flights. Our flights from Dallas to New Plymouth were $2,806 for the two of us. Very long flight, but also very expensive, which is kind of why our January was just totally out of whack. Apart from our flights, we also had our transportation that included things like public buses, parking, those sorts of things. We also had a 5-day car rental in Dallas that we used to drive from Dallas to Austin and back again, obviously. That was $88 a day. And we had a 4-day car rental here in New Plymouth when we went down to Wellington return trip that was $37 US per day. So far cheaper to rent a car here in New Zealand than it was in the States. So the one thing that is more expensive here, if you haven't been to New Zealand, car rental might not be expensive, but petrol is crazy. When we were travelling down to Wellington, it was about $2.70, $2.80 a litre. Well, that's about $1.55 US a litre, or approximately $10 a gallon for those of us that are used to working in gallons. So that is what gets you. Anyway, the total cost of transportation for January and February was $823.51, and our flights were $28.06. So as we were in a different country, we wanted to see a few things. We mainly came to New Zealand to visit family and friends. So we haven't done a lot of sightseeing, and what we have done has been mainly free things, which is nice. The only things we have spent money on during January and February, we had a fabulous visit with some family members to a huge sunflower field here in New Plymouth. And we also went up in the cable car to the botanical gardens in Wellington. So our total budget for January and February sightseeing was just $33 US.
Not bad.
Not bad.
So now I get the pleasure of going over some of our general things that we spent money on. And the general category includes things like miscellaneous costs that we don't have anywhere else. So during the month of January and February, I got a haircut, as you can see. Charlene did too. So for Charlene's haircut, it was $48 US, and mine was $21 US. And then we had an annual credit card fee that came due as well, which was $99. So the total costs for our general category for the months of January and February are $181.10. And our eSIM costs were $8.41.
We did good.
Yeah, we had Wi-Fi most of the time everywhere we were at, especially with people that we were staying with. And then some restaurants had it as well, so we really didn't have to buy another eSIM for myself. So we just continued to just live off the one that Charlene has. And it was great that we didn't have that extra added expense. It just shows that you really don't have to have a lot of expense when it comes to communication when you're traveling. So total eSIM cost was $8.41.
$4 a month. Gotta love it.
I love it. So for subscriptions, it was $120.18, or roughly about $60.09 per month. And these are some of our subscriptions that we have. Of course, we have Amazon Prime, which we love, which comes to about $12.54 a month. And then, of course, we have NordVPN, and we don't want to travel without a VPN. So Nord is our preferred VPN, and that comes to about $1.35 a month.
Because of that special we got on Rakuten, if you've been following us for the last year.
Yeah, that was a spectacular special that we got. Did you want to go into detail about that?
Nope. Go back and watch some of the old budget videos.
Well, there you go. We'll link it down in the description. Even though most travelers won't have the following expenses, these are some things that we also had that were part of our subscriptions as well. So like Dropbox, we do drop a lot of things into our Dropbox, which is about $10.65 per month. And then we have RV Escapees mailbox service. Now, this is, for us, this works tremendously well. It may not work for everybody, but we absolutely love it. And that's $22.58 per month. And then,
so do we want to talk about, we haven't talked about RV Escapees.
You know what? I think we might save that for another video at another day. Or we could talk about it now if you want.
We'll give you the short version now. So RV Escapees is, for all intents and purposes, our legal address in the States. It's where all our mail goes. If we're called up for jury duty, they will take care of it for us, and they will tell us all the mail we get. They will either sort it, they will scan it if we ask them to, they will destroy it if we ask them to, or they'll forward it on if we want it forwarded somewhere where we're going to be in the future, that type of thing. So we're loving it.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical that we have it in our lifestyle. So we'll probably do a little bit more when we do one of these other future videos where we look at doing some packing and things, you know, that benefit us, and some of the little tools that we have on trip as well. So I look forward to that. And then the last thing that we have as part of subscriptions is Clipchamp. And that's our editing software that we use on a regular basis when we do these videos. So there's other products that we use too, Canva, but we don't use the pro version of Canva, it's the free version. But Clipchamp is one that we do pay for, and that's $12.97 per month.
So those items are things that most travelers won't have to add to their budget. We decided to add them this year because we wanted to track it with our costs.
Yes. TRICARE health insurance came to $60.82, and this is a monthly family deductible for TRICARE Select, which is about $30.41 for myself and Charlene. And then for our medical costs, a big part of our trip back to the U.S. was to check out with our specialists to make sure that we were behaving ourselves and getting ourselves better while we were on trip. So between 3 specialist visits and refilling lots of prescriptions and OTC products, it doesn't take too much to get up to a total of $361.13. But those are some medications and OTC items that, you know,
that'll cover us for about the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. And also, it's critical that we understand that, you know, some of these things may not be available in some of the countries we go to as well. But
we're not sure. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So our accommodation, thankfully, is not the biggest expense this time, which it normally is. We had one night in Dallas at the airport before we flew out the next morning. That was $95. We had 4 nights in Austin when we stayed there for a few nights to check in with our specialists. That worked out to be $62.85 a night. And then in February, we spent 3 nights at a hotel in Wellington here in New Zealand, which was $70.41 a night. So our total cost for accommodation for the whole 59 days during January and February was $557.62. But what do we do the rest of the time?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge, and I think we're just very blessed with the families that we have, not only in America, but in New Zealand as well. First of all, we stay with some great friends in Dallas, Texas, Sean and Marie Hale. We just wanted to give a shout out to you all. And they also have a travel channel, Travel with the Hales. So we'll provide their information in the description below for their site as well. But we just want to give you a thanks for what you did for us and staying in Dallas. And then also here in New Zealand,
for the majority of the 2 months we've been here in New Plymouth, New Zealand, staying with my mum and dad. So thank you, Mum and Dad. We really appreciate you. Don't know how you put up with us this long, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and then also just finally, when we were in Alabama, we stayed with my sister Connie and Chris at their place. So we just very thankful and blessed to have such a wonderful family to put up with us for so long. So for restaurants and eating out, so the exchange rate with the dollar to the New Zealand dollar was in our favor, and that was being around $1.75 New Zealand to $1 US. So we enjoyed, eating all-you-can-eat buffet meals here, which were around $15 each.
US.
Yes, US. And then Sunday roast meals for $10 each. Now, if you've never had a roast meal, it is beautiful. Comes with either roast pork with crackling or just roast beef with like Yorkshire pudding and all the vegetables and the gravy. But it's one of the best things you could ever have. But
You're making me hungry. Stop.
I'm thinking about now. I want some. So the total cost for eating out for the months of January and February was $969.61. Now, if you've seen our budget videos in the past, we always allow space here for coffees. And so New Zealand is known for the cafe culture, and the coffee here is just a wonderful coffee. So you know that we have a lot of coffee, and we had to have some when we got here. Plus, the average latte or cappuccino coffee was about $2.80 US, which is not too bad. So our total cost for coffees for the month of January and February were in the amount of $115.11. And then one thing that we had to do is we had to buy groceries. So when you're staying with your in-laws or with family members or whatever, you're going to have to shout some of the groceries as well, which is not a big deal, but still, our grocery bill for the months of January and February were $484.40 US.
We did take them out for meals and coffees as well, just so you know.
Oh yeah, and there was the occasional steak pie and fish and chips or whatever, but yeah, we had to indulge a bit with them.
So we did start this year in two very expensive countries between the US and New Zealand. So one of the reasons we've managed to stay under budget this month is because of our amazing friends and family who put up with us for the whole time we were staying with them.
They put up with us all right.
For a long time. And we really appreciate that. And we know that that has kept our costs down. We couldn't have done it otherwise. We couldn't have stayed under budget. But our budget for the entire 2 months was $6,520.89. If we'd had to pay for accommodation, would have totally blown the budget. We would have been living under a bridge or something.
No, I have to be busking at the local tube stop, I think.
Oh, dear.
And my signal's horrible.
Anyway, thankfully the great thing is we work off an annual budget rather than a monthly budget. We track our expenses day to day and month to month to make sure we're kind of tracking, but we know that we're going to go to some cheaper countries later in the year, so we weren't so worried about being in more expensive countries right now. We're heading to Australia next, which is not known for being cheap either, so we'll just wait and see. Yep. We'll look at the whole year at the end of the year and go, how did we do? So anyway, if you haven't already, please subscribe, and if you found this video helpful, we'd love to have your feedback, comments, and obviously like and subscribe. Bye guys.
See you guys, appreciate it.